Hello, everybody. This is I Can't Know Music, I'll Know Music, episode 9. We are doing, this is the podcast where we listen to an album and then we talk about it. My name is Michael Nip, and I'm here with my co host, Blake.
Hey, how's it going?
This week we are doing Mobile Orchestra by Owl City. We talked about that last week. It represents the newest album that we've ever done on the show. So that's something special. And it's a little bit different genre than I think we've ever done because it's got like a dance, pop, EDM kind of thing going on. But there's a little bit of lots of different genres mixed in here. I think it's going to be fun to be talk about.
Yeah. He does he has some worship songs. Everything has like a pop influence. So he does like country. We were listening to, or at least I listened to the commentary track, and he talked about one of his songs being really influenced by like 90s punk, like I think he said like Blink 182, MXPX, bands like that. He has some Hanson in one of his songs, as well as just some more like electronic stuff.
Yeah, it's a super fun album. I found that like a quick listen, it didn't actually sound that special. It just kind of sounded like generic pop. But the more I dug into it, the more I found that like I prefer an album that gets better as I dig into it instead of doesn't change at all after I listen to it more. And I actually ended up liking this album quite a bit. So I'm excited to talk about it. Like we said, the album is by Owl City. It came out this year. Owl City is made up by Adam Young, a 29-year-old dude who lives in I can't pronounce it. Owatonna, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Which we have. I know people that live there. I wonder if they've ever met him or seen him around there. They don't really like this type of music, but that would be cool to live in. Like I guess I don't live that far from
closer
the
than I do.
YouTube. Yeah, well, there's a YouTube hit, Carmen, and the people from Carmen live an hour away from here, so that's
You've
cool.
seen them
but
tour a few times, haven't you?
I saw them one time. I wish I would have seen them more because it was really good, but that was fun. But yeah, so the first track on this album, I guess. Well, do you want to broach anything? Like, what's your history with Owl City? We can talk about this because this is an artist that's like released music since we've been alive and stuff.
Yeah. So pretty much, I listened to Fireflies when it came out. That's about it. I know a lot of my friends listened to Owl City a lot. I know at least 3 of my friends like favorite artists. So I got to talk to someone this week about it, which was kind of cool. But yeah.
Did you tell him that you were a famous internet celebrity who did a podcast about music?
No, but I tell him that he didn't know that I had a podcast.
What's with our friends, man? Get with the program.
I know.
Yeah, so the first album that he put out, the one with Fireflies on it, I believe it is called Ocean Eyes. I'll fact check that real quick. Ocean Eyes. I really, 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 really like that. That album came out the year that I graduated high school, and that time was just really cool. And it was like super chill, nice, like kind of like super, super soothing. I found music, which I also listened to the commentary track for Mobile Orchestra, and he talks about that being one of the things that he wants his music to do. He wants it to be able to be a happy place for people to go, and I think he pulls it off really well. I really like that first album. I have listened briefly to his other albums, but not really dug in as much as his first one or this one. But I really like this guy, so maybe I'll go back and listen to some of his other stuff. It's always really good, and it's like very inoffensive music to always have on in the background. Like nobody's going to be annoyed with it, I don't think. Fireflies is a catchy song that everybody likes so much that it was permeating the entire world at that time. At least it seemed that way. The first song on this guy is called Verge, and if you are listening, I'll mention this again. If you're watching the video version of this podcast, we are just going to talk about the music because it's hard to deal with YouTube and song licenses and stuff. But if you'd like to, you can go to theculturemypeople.com and listen to the audio version of this podcast. And as we discuss different songs, we'll actually post clips of the songs in there. Also, as always, just in case you didn't know this, we do all of our selections for music and picks and stuff off Spotify. So if you are someone that has access to Spotify, which generally you do, it's free, you have a Facebook account, you can listen to all the stuff that we are talking about for free. So we recommend that you actually listen to the album before, if you have the chance. That way you can kind of understand what we're talking about. Definitely afterwards, if it's an album that we liked, which we generally pick albums that we think we're going to like, because why would we talk about music that's bad on purpose? But yeah, so we recommend that you check all that stuff out. Like, the whole point of this podcast is to get people to listen to cool albums, because we like to listen to cool albums. It's fun to talk about them. Speaking of which, we actually got a submission for a recommendation for an album, and we love that, and we'll talk about that more after the show. But we enjoy that kind of stuff. We'll get there. Back to that, Verge. What did you think about the first track, Verge?
This was a pretty good opener track. It just kind of talks about kind of starting journeys. The music video depicted a graduation as the graduates kind of went off to their occupations, which I think starts the album well, opening that up to the journey that is the album.
Yeah, it's a good upbeat opener song, like you mentioned. The Adam in the commentary track talks about the like opening guitar kind of mantra thing. He calls it a motor that keeps the song running, and like it is a very energetic feel that and like you mentioned, the song Verge is referring to like you're on the edge of something about to get crazy. Like you need to take that step. Things can change for the better. The song is like it's kind of generic sounding, or like generic lyrics, because I'm gonna punch my microphone, because it's supposed to be able to represent lots of different things. Like he said, graduation in the music video, or maybe a new job, or maybe you're just trying something creative for the first time. It's a very very poppy and what's the word I'm looking for? Encouragement. What is the word? Inspirational song. That's what I'm looking for.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next song is called I Found Love, which is a song I didn't actually understand until I heard the commentary track. What was your thoughts on this guy?
Yeah, I didn't listen to most of I didn't read through them, at least before the commentary. But I thought that this song, you could definitely hear, it kind of takes the same line of approach, kind of as Deathbed did by Reliant K, which I know that this artist has been influenced by Matt Thiessen and what he's done, as he produced his first album. Matt Thiessen produced Owl City's first album, and then they also wrote a later song on this album together.
Do you remember which one it is? I totally forgot.
I believe it was the Hanson one, which is unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Okay. Yeah, Matt Thiessen, right? That's.
Yeah, but it's this song talking about this guy who is about to die. But yeah, like you said earlier, the entire album, he talks in the commentary about how he wanted to keep it, encouraging and upbeat. He focuses more on the brighter side of things. So this song is kind of in relation to the hope that he has in Christ and his salvation, and going to live with him.
Yeah, it's weird also because I'm pretty sure this is the song. Let me check the lyrics, because maybe I'm getting this wrong. I thought in the commentary track he said something about this being a song where the main character fell in love with a ghost.
That's the next track.
Okay, I wrote my notes wrong then.
Yeah, but
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, this is a song about what you mentioned. Oh yes, I wasn't gonna say anything else except Adam on the commentary track had a good quote where he said, "Life is sad, but sometimes sadness can be beautiful," and that's
Mhm.
kind of the feeling for how he made this track. The next song is called Thunderstruck, and that's the one that I was confused because I don't think I ever would have picked up on that being what the song
Yeah, I
was
wouldn't
talking
have either.
about. Evidently the song, according to Adam, is about someone falling in love with a ghost, and he like Adam talked about liking to write songs about like love songs about couples that were doomed from the beginning,
Yeah.
and I was
Th-
super confused because I didn't pick that up at all by myself.
There's really only one line that would really give it, which is, "I chased the phantoms down the hall. I felt the floorboards rise and fall. I lost and never loved at all." So, yeah, just it's the
Just
second
seems like a good
verse.
poetic, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, you can easily take that as um, just yeah, poeticness. But yeah, this is really bouncy, or it's okay. Earlier this week, I was trying to describe it to John as candy pop, and he corrected me that it is not candy pop. And that is a genre that I made up on my own. Uh, it is, in fact, electronic dancing music, as the kids
It
are
is
calling it
electronic
these
dancing music,
days.
but this song actually has hints of dubstep as well. Like there's a
Yeah,
little bit of light wubs and some very dubsteppy type
and
flourishes that are on the
I
song.
believe this is also the track that he talks about um, getting samples from like all over his house. Like he said, he got samples from him skateboarding in his front yard and like slamming doors and stuff like that, just in his house. Um,
Yeah. And
just
so I
various
mean, yeah, it's a
sample
really
chunks
fun
that he
song.
used throughout the song.
You mentioned bubblegum, or did you say no, you said
Candy
candy
pop.
pop. Bubblegum pop, I'm almost positive is an actual genre.
All
I
right.
don't know if I've heard candy pop, but bubblegum pop
Let's.
would be something like Jump 5 or something, at least if I'm remembering things right, but I may be totally like I may have been high or something. I don't know.
I'm googling this right now.
Bubblegum pop.
Yeah.
Let's see what comes up. The chat
Bubblegum
asks,
pop.
"What is a wub?" I cannot give you a definition of a wub. A wub is more of a
It's an
feel, but
onomatopoeia.
it's when the bass goes wub, 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 wub. It is an onomatopoeia. Did you find anything for bubblegum pop, or did I make that up
Uh,
too?
Bubblegum pop, also known as bubblegum rock, bubblegum music, or simply bubblegum, is a genre of pop music with an upbeat sound contrived and marketed to appeal to preteens and teenagers. They are produced in an assembly line process driven by producers and often using unknown singers. Bubblegum classic period. Okay, yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
so
wait.
like I would
The,
totally define something like
the
Jump 5
bubblegum
as that.
period apparently happened from 67 to 72. And then a second wave started in 77 when disco took over and punk rock emerged.
What the heck?
That's
That
what
sounds
Wikipedia
awesome.
says.
Wikipedia, I have been learning a lot about music from Wikipedia lately. We'll talk about that later, but I've been doing some deep dives into some weird like stuff. Anyway, that's Thunderstruck. I like that song quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, all of these are super catchy, fun, happy songs. Even the ones that are super jacked and kind of sad and depressing are also happy sounding, which is why
Yeah.
at first, like my first, like I'm going to describe my process here. My first listen is almost never paying attention super close to the lyrics or the meaning. It's
Mhm.
always like it's in the background, and then as I progress more, I look more until my final listen. I kind of write all my notes in the final listen. Excuse me. And so, like the first time I heard this album, I just assumed that it was all happy songs because they all sound like happy songs. But there's actually like we're gonna get to or whatever. Some of these songs are actually kind of sad and some
Mhm.
very very sad. Uh, the next track is called "My Everything," which um, you mentioned I Found Love, and he talks about it, but like this is the first song on the album that to me just sounds like a Christian contemporary like
Yeah,
worship song or song that you would hear on K Love or
it's like a radio worship song. Yeah.
yeah. So like it's really weird because I know from listening to Owl City and like being around Owl City fans and stuff that Adam had claimed to be a Christian, and I know that like on the side he's released
Like worship albums and
like
stuff like that.
yeah,
He
or
did a
like
bunch of
yeah,
like
covers of
hymn.
hymns. Yeah.
They're not covers, are they? What do you
Well, I guess
version?
I don't know what you call it. Yeah, versions of him,
He
sure.
sang. I don't know. Yeah, he
Yeah.
did hymns.
But like I feel like this, at least in my to my knowledge, is like one of the most upfront, like, hey, this is just basically Christian contemporary music songs that I've ever heard him do on his mainstream albums. And so yeah, that was a little different. I like this song, but it's probably not one of my favorites on the album, if I have to be honest.
Yeah. It kind of
you got anything else on that one?
it kind of sounds a lot like the other 2 or 3 worship songs he has, where he's just kind of talking about his dependence on God in his weakness and stuff like that. In the commentary track, he said it's a follow-up to a track that's later on the album, You Are Not Alone. And yeah, he stated that with this album he wanted to put up front that what his faith was and try to make it clear to his following.
Yeah, he says very specifically, like he felt like at this point in his career, he felt he needed to be really upfront about his faith. Like it's almost like he portrayed that he was like, I felt a conviction that I needed to talk about my faith at this point in my career. Like it was a necessary thing that he felt like he had to do.
Mm-hmm.
The next song I think is one of the funnerest songs on the
Most
album.
fun?
Yes, called Unbelievable, which, like you mentioned before, is a song that they do with the group Hanson, who I actually have listened to a lot of Hanson over like the various years.
My time.
Yeah, they were kind of slightly before my time at first, but like I really, really like their album from 2010, I want to say. It's called I blanked real quick. It's called Shout It Out. It came out in 2010. It's a really good, catchy, kind of like light pop rock or something album that I think is really, really good, and I wanted to talk about really briefly. But this song is kind of about things that you remember as a kid, and it's called Unbelievable because they're talking with childlike joy about how excited they are with all these cool things that they did as a kid, and they didn't think that anything could ever be better, but like they're naming thing after thing after thing that they didn't think could be better. Like it's a very hopeful song that like, hey, there's a lot of cool things. It touched me as someone that is like very close to like Adam Young is 29 years old. I am just about 25 years old. Sometimes I already find myself turning into an old cynic, and it was cool to listen to this song to think it's like a look at nostalgia, but in a way that says, hey, like the world is a cool place with a lot of cool things. Like you should be excited for this kind of crap. Like, does this song have relevance to you being a young person still?
A little bit. I mean, most of the stuff it related to me as like hand-me-downs, so it was still pretty cool because it was new to me. A notable line in the song is Lion King was the latest thing and I could feel the love, which I laughed at.
Yeah,
but yeah, they talk in the first.
You were born like how many years after Lion King came out?
I don't know. When did it come out?
Like 1994.
Okay, then 4 years later.
Okay.
So
I saw that in theaters. I remember that.
Yeah, but I could definitely relate with the things. The first verse was written by Adam, and the second verse was written by Hanson. I could definitely relate more to the things in the first verse, as that's about the age that my sisters were, so they already had some of that stuff. Whereas Hanson, I believe, are a little bit older.
Yeah, I think so.
The things that they were mentioning were like MC Hammer,
Fresh Prince, Jurassic Park,
Saved by the Bell, stuff like that, which was more like 80s, and further before my time. So
yeah. You mentioned that they recorded the song. I really don't know if Adam actually worked in person with any of the people that are featured on this album. I think it was all email back and forth, like various samples and like tracks, which, as someone who has tried to do that before, like that's kind of hard, and I really respect that kind of process.
In this song, this was the one that he wrote with Matt Thiessen and someone else. Which he did say that he, was in Thiessen's recording studio at his house, write something, whatever. Oh wait, no, that's the wrong song.
Oh, either way, they did do a little bit of they did do a little bit of stuff in like studio, but a lot of the coordination was like, they even mentioned that Hanson did some editing on that stuff,
on the lyrics and the tracks and stuff like that.
The chat mentions out that stuff is all from the 90s. It's just must have been earlier in the 90s.
Oh, all right.
I'm pretty sure Fresh Prince started in like 1990, but I'm making that up, so we'll see.
Okay.
All right. Talk about the next song, "Bird with a Broken Wing."
All right. So in this song, the commentary track talks about his influences by this kind of like early grunge punk of MXPX and Blink-182, and other bands like that, and how he kind of wanted to emulate that. It's a song, he said, about kind of this apocalyptic lone survivor type guy. He said that the Book of Eli was the movie was a strong inspiration for this song, where you have this protagonist that like doesn't have any friends, or like there's no one left, but he just keeps going, and he's like constantly fighting for his life. So, stuff with that theme. It's still really poppy for a quote punk song. I wouldn't, listening to this on its own, it would take me a while before I could pick out the punk, but you could kind of tell with the opening, and later on in the song he inputs like guitars and stuff like that are a bit raw.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite track on the album, because it is such a weird blend of the like pop punk sound with the EDM sound that like when the pop punk comes out, it is such a different blend than I don't think I've ever heard that blend before. But like the lyrics are very angsty, but also not so angsty as to sound out of place on an Owl City album, which he talks about on the commentary track. It's just like one of the weirdest like musical genre mashups I think I've ever heard, and I really like when like the second verse starts and it kind of does the like muted rhythm section guitars that you mentioned. I just think it works really well, and like it was after hearing the song a couple times, I was just like, I really like this song. Like, it's super catchy, and I don't understand, like this is something that I've actually never heard before genre wise. So I really was a fan of that. The next song is called "Back Home." This one is a feature with Jake Owen. What were your thoughts on this guy?
It was bearable. I think it was all right. I would never pick this track out, but you know,
Yeah, so
I'm not gonna
that's the
catch
thing.
myself on it.
This is where Adam on the commentary track admits that he really likes country music, and so he was really happy to do a song with Jake Owen. So this song has like some banjos and like country, like it's very country like, even in its message, which is like he's been touring, and it's like a literal example of him going back home to his actual home in Minnesota. But like it comes across just a little too country, but like not so much as I immediately shut it off, but so much as I would like, as you said, I would never pick this out of a list of tracks.
Yeah, and
Unless,
like the last song with the punk in it, he definitely did do things to make it an Owl City song. It was very electro punky or poppy. He definitely, it wasn't just another country song.
No, and it's worth mentioning that all of the things that I said about Bird with a Broken Wing, like it being a very unique genre blend, like yes, there is like pop country, and yes, there is maybe some form of like I heard a little bit of like weird R&B country last year with some weird artist I can't remember the name of, but like, oh my goodness, I'm looking at the chat. I gotta clear my head real quick. Like it's. I don't particularly like country, but in the same way that Bird with a Broken Wing mixes different genres together in a way that I've never quite heard before, that is also true on this song with a different genre, and that is to be praised, even if I'm not really a fan of the song itself. The chat is asking how many different genres are on this album, and what genre would we classify the album if that's possible? Like electronic dance music, like a pop dance track or pop dance album.
Yeah, and I counted about 7 different, depending on how you classify genres, which is I think a lot of the time most up to the artist, but I mean for the most part, and depending on where you draw lines and stuff like that, I counted about 7.
I mean, we've mentioned pop, punk, country, dubstep.
Dubstep.
That's
you can kind of I classified
worship or whatever.
Yeah, worship. I classified the Unbelievable one as kind of boy bandy.
A little bit. It definitely has Hanson in it.
Yeah.
The thing worth mentioning is that while there's so many different genres, all of them sound like an Owl City song, which is a really good a really special accomplishment, and all of them also sound like they fit on the same album, which I think is even more of a talented accomplishment.
That's an achievement there.
Yeah, well, as I've been thinking about different albums that I've been listening to recently, and another example we may talk about a little bit later is Andy Mineo, Christian hip hop rapper, just released a new album this last week. Is that I've never considered how difficult it must be to make songs that have such different musical influences sound like they belong on the same album. And like kind of mastering all of the tracks to kind of fit together and like fit one after another, even when there's different genres and different sounds and different messages, is a talent that is kind of I imagine that is a relatively hard thing to do, and he pulls it off quite nicely on this guy. The next song is "Can't Live Without You," which I'm saying that this is another this is another one of the like worship tracks.
It's similar to My Everything, and then the next track, You Are Not Alone, which is the My Everything is a follow-up track too, which is weird because it's earlier in the album.
It's interesting to hear artists talk about like the order that they think of songs in their mind based on how they made them versus where they end up on an album.
But yeah, it's again kind of a generic-ish radio worship song.
With the exception of the next song, "You Are Not Alone," I think that the country song and the worship songs are kind of the weakest spots on the album. But I actually think that "You Are Not Alone" um, is a pretty decent track. Something worth mentioning, and it's something that he talks about a bunch in the commentary tracks for the album, is he is intentionally, and I've never really heard of a musician ever trying to do this intentionally before, but he talks about it making a conscious effort to make music that does not sound like the words, like that does not fit what he's talking about.
Yeah, yeah,
Which, like,
he
generally speaking, a musician uses music as a tool to like hone in the message. Uh, he does the complete opposite on purpose. You were gonna say something.
yeah he uses a juxtaposition, uh, as he was saying in a lot of his tracks, like the one earlier, which was called "I Found Love," and then later on in the next track, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah,
Yeah, so
continue.
can't live without you. Specifically, is a very dance feeling track, but it's actually this like vulnerable song where he talks about the necessity for God in his life to fall back on, which is it's just it is an intentionally weird juxtaposition where you listen to the song and you get one feel, and then you listen deeply to the song and you're like, oh, it's a weird fit. I don't know how that fits, but like it also kind of works in a weird Owl City kind of way. The next song is "You Are Not Alone." What do you have for that one? I liked this one, but what were
Me
your
too.
thoughts?
Yeah, I thought this one again kind of resonated with Deathbed, which is a really good song by Relent K. And how, you know, it kind of looks over this long period of time over this little girl's life, and deals with harder topics like deathbed, which
Wait, I think there's one more before that one,
what?
unless I'm
I don't
mixing
have
them
it.
up. "You Are Not Alone" was the one with Britt Nicole.
Yeah. The next one I have is "This Isn't the End."
Oh, we didn't talk about "You're Not Alone," or unless we did.
Oh, we didn't?
I don't.
No, this was
We mentioned it.
wait. Oh, we did? Oh, all right. Well,
I don't know. Either way, "You're Not Alone," or yeah, "You're Not Alone." I like it because it is the quote unquote Christian track that I think is the most in depth with talking about like the biblical things that he
yeah,
wants. And so
it's more.
is my favorite of the Christian tracks on the album.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, jump to the end. So go ahead for "This
Cool.
Is the End."
Okay. Yeah, so it kind of resonates with Deathbed, and how, you know, Deathbed kind of talks about alcoholism and smoking and just kind of living a hard life in general. The absence of a father. That's a similar theme in this one. It talks about this one talks about suicide, the absence of a father, and then like forgiveness at the very end. But yeah, it's about this little girl who her dad committed suicide, um, selfishly, and, you know, her life as she tries to deal with that, and then ultimately forgives him, and at the very end, spoilers.
Yeah, it is a song that talks about something that is very sad, but ultimately it is a hopeful song. Uh, where it's called, yeah, we mentioned it. It's called "This Isn't the End." It's um, it's just the beginning, is what they say in the song, and so it's about being able to press on and move on even after hard things happen in your life. Like he mentions on the commentary track. Uh, how he wants to encourage people that have been through hard things to be able to keep going. Like it's one
Mhm.
of his goals. He gets to see people that have been in all kinds of these hard life situations, and he wants all of his music to be this kind of encouraging kind of respite that people can listen to and not be
Mhm.
depressed or whatever, which, you know, is a different goal because there's a lot of sad music out there.
Mhm. Yeah. He also goes to say in the commentary that this is roughly based or loosely based on his mother, and her relationship with her father who left her at a young age, and dealing with that in light of the gospel and the hope of salvation through Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And that wraps up all the track by track.
Yep. This was a shorter album.
A lot.
Yeah, it was definitely really good.
I think it is only 3 minutes longer than the last week's, which was a really short album.
Yeah,
I think
it's one track shorter as well.
Okay, but it is like way better musically, and like I can listen to this album and not be annoyed, and I would recommend this album to all of our listeners.
Yeah, I don't notice when it loops, and I keep letting it play. So it was a good one.
Yeah. Another thing I want to mention is I absolutely love the thing that's been happening recently, which is a lot of artists are releasing commentary tracks.
Yeah.
I did absolutely no additional research to this, because why would I when the artist is telling me all the information that he wants me to know about these tracks? Like, that's a really cool tool in people's tool belts. And I highly recommend when you listen to this album that you listen, like, it is half an hour to listen to the real album, half an hour to listen to the commentary tracks, give or take. And you should do both. Like, it's really cool. It makes our job really easy as we're talking about this.
It was definitely a really, really useful resource in, researching into these tracks. There's no speculation because the artist straight up tells you what he's talking about, and his perception of it, which, I mean, you do like miss out on other people's interpretation, but I think that the artist's interpretation is the most important by far.
Yeah, authorial intent is a very valuable thing when you are trying to perceive art, especially if it was intended to be perceived a certain way. But yeah, I like that. I'm going to add this. This will be an album that gets added to something that I listen to just periodically. Also worth mentioning, there's a playlist that you can follow under my name on Spotify that has every single song that we've ever talked about from the albums on I Can't Know Music, I'll Know Music. So this will get added into there. It's turning into quite the assortment of random music. It's a really weird playlist where you get like Devo, and then Pink Floyd, and then David Bowie, and now Owl City, and then a cake song or a reggae song. So yeah, there's that. We talked about the album. We'll mention next week we decided to listen to I am so blanking. The Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. Yes. The other Pink Floyd album, the one that everyone wears t-shirts for. I think that will be cool. I absolutely loved The Wall. That is easily one of the best. It's one of the best and one of my favorites that we've done both. And so I am looking forward to seeing what this album is all about, because I think I've heard it before, but it was one of those where it was just like a casual listen. And like, I just remember thinking, oh yeah, that's a cool like 70s rock album with some like disco influences, but like, I don't remember. I absolutely didn't listen to it correctly. So I want to hear that.
After we did The Wall, I gave it a listen through, but I didn't, listen to it.
Yeah, which that's what this podcast is about: getting people to listen to albums more. This is probably a good time to mention this part. So you can email us. We mentioned it before. You can email us at podcast@thecultureofmypeople.com, and I don't have my phone on me. Podcast@thecultureofmypeople.com. You can email us, and one of the things that we'd like you to email us is suggestions for albums for us to listen to. And this was, we actually got a suggestion from friend/member of the site, John, who suggested an album that I'm pulling up real quick. It's called Pharmacy by Galantis. Galantis. It's like a super EDM album. We may get to this one. We may not. Even if we don't get to an album, I want you to suggest them, because I just like to hear cool music to listen to, and I totally listened to this album and I thought it was rad. And so even if it's something that we can't get to on the show, I really want you to suggest albums to listen to because I just like to listen to cool music. It's something I'm a fan of. So there's that. You can also ask us questions or give us your interpretations of albums that we've talked about. Like if you have some kind of weird fourth interpretation of the Black Parade, I'm welcome to hear it because any excuse to listen to the Black Parade again is a good excuse. That album has touched me in many ways recently. What have you been listening to like outside of this album this week?
I found this week an album that was good that I'm pulling up.
Digging through something for the audio viewers,
audio
listeners.
Okay, it is called Eisenhower by The Slip. There are 2 or 3 tracks that I really enjoyed and will probably be adding to my playlist.
So describe your playlist situation again for people that may not know.
Okay, so I have this one playlist on Spotify. It's the only one that I have and actually use other than my Discovery playlist, in which I dump every song that I like into and then play on random. So in hopes that nothing gets overplayed to the point where I don't like it.
That's a noble goal.
So yeah, I have everything from like ska to like indie like type stuff like Postal Service, Death Cab. I have a lot of Five Iron Frenzy, which is as I mentioned last week, one of my favorite bands, as well as a whole lot of other stuff. So if you want to check that out, you can go ahead and do that. It's called Safe Room, which you can find under Blake Christian.
I thought it was Safe House.
What did I say? Safe Room. No, it's Safe House. You are right.
Okay.
I know what I name my stuff. Yeah, but it's just a compilation of literally everything that I listen to.
Friend or a co-host of another podcast on the site, Drewby, made a playlist called Drewby's Safe House.
Yeah, I saw that.
He tried to copy your playlist. I was like, Drewby, you need to give it a better name than that. Like it's such an obvious copy at that point. He did not listen to me. So, so what was that band you said again that you listened to?
It's called The Slip, and the album was Eisenhower. So, I don't know. The one that I found was called Even Rats, which was a pretty good song. Okay,
cool. I've been doing a deep dive on Wikipedia, as I mentioned before, where I was looking up. We were listening to the Devo album, and I was talking about with a music critic about the Devo album, and like the whole subject of pop punk, which I guess if I had to pick a genre that was my favorite, it would be pop punk. And I was like, well, what are the origins of pop punk? Because Devo fits somewhere in there with its new wave style, and it led me to like find this Wikipedia page that just has every single artist that's been tagged as pop punk on there.
Is that like the spreadsheet that you sent me?
Yeah, so I sent you the spreadsheet. I sent it to like Droopy as well. Like it's over 300 artists. It's just every single artist on Wikipedia that's been labeled pop punk. And so
is your goal in life to listen to all of the world's pop punk?
So like yeah, that's kind of like this weird like lifelong thing that I've set for myself. So I literally just put them all in alphabetical order, and I'm trying to listen to at least once every single album that all of the artists have put out on Spotify. And I'm not very far because there's over 300 artists, each with at least one, if not more, albums, and many of them are going to be on Spotify. So I listened to Plus 44, which is evidently a super group of two of the dudes from Blink after they broke up the first time. The two that were not making Angels and Airwaves, that other band. And so they did it with some other punk people that I didn't know of. But like Blink 182 was kind of the late 90s like pop punk resurrection band. So it's cool. I like it. Like this is the genre that I like, and so I kind of want to know everything about it that I can. Another artist that I ended up listening to was 999, not related to the awesome video game of the same title, which is like it was like a British punk, I guess pop punk because it's labeled pop punk, like a British punk sounding band from the year before that Devo album came out. And unlike the Devo album, it's totally listenable and actually kind of fun and good. So it's like Devo did something for like gimmicky, if like for like that has a negative connotation, but like gimmicky bands. But like pop punk was already better than that before they existed. So like I don't know. It just makes me like respect the Devo album a little bit less than I already did. Because like, oh, there was better pop punk before this already. So whatever. I think that's about it. That's a good album. We talked about next week's album. We talked about what we're listening to. We talked about listener mail. That about covers. You wanna talk about any other awesome music? Anything you forgot to talk about last week when we were talking about our favorite everythings?
Oh, I don't think I mentioned Cat Empire, or Weezer, which are both like.
Oh, neither of us mentioned Weezer.
I think you did.
I don't think.
But anyways.
Oh, okay.
Like,
okay.
Those two, I wouldn't consider them my favorite, but like I can always go to an album and really enjoy it. They never get overplayed, at least in my mind. When Cat Empire drops that new album, we need to check it out for the show because they are insanely talented. They have a really, really large band. They're like 10 members, something like that.
Nice.
Nice.
But like Chicago or something.
Yeah. They like play around with genres and stuff like that, and really make the music that they make their own. So yeah, I really enjoy them. Nice.
Next month is October. We have thrown about. I'm gonna pull a little bit of a tease here. We've thrown about fun ideas for Halloween, and so we'll discuss those more as the time approaches. But we have a little bit of an idea for a Halloween special episode of A Can of Music on the Music. Yeah, it's a really dumb thing we were talking about. But other than that, go ahead.
Yeah, we can talk about it after the show.
Yeah. How can people find you on the internet outside of this show? Have you yet created an online persona?
Kind of. I just realized after hashtag that I was featured in a few episodes of my brother's vlog, which is created to make fun of vloggers. So I'm in a few of those episodes. You can find those at, I believe, John Wilson's YouTube, whatever. It's made off of G+. So however you find that. But he did a product review of me as his brother, as well as he made me a bowl of ramen noodles. He might have done some other stuff. But yeah, I am featured in a few of those episodes, so you can go ahead and check that out.
I very much encourage you to do so. Those videos are
they're pretty funny.
Yeah. So he's also John Wilson has also been on hashtag before, another one of the shows. Another one of the site shows. He also designed pretty much any graphic that you see on the site, which I don't know how much those show up, but like it's for the RSS feed and all that jazz. So he's our graphical designer / he's been on various he's on the Road Trip podcast, not the Road Trip podcast, the Milkshake podcast we did this year for hashtag.
Yeah, that's right. Where we kidnapped Drewby.
Yeah. So son of a gun. So yeah, you can find me facebook.com/Michael Nip. No, facebook.com/TheRealMichaelNip and twitter.com/Michael Nip. Nip is spelled K-N-I-P-P. And Michael is spelled M-I-C-H-A-E-L. Somebody misspelled my name wrong for like 3 weeks in a row at work, and I kept missing emails because they're spelling it E-A-L instead of A-E-L. And it really makes me unhappy that we like live in a world where I've never seen someone. I think maybe one time I've seen someone whose name was spelled E-A-L. Like, of course, I look at my name all the time, so it always looks right to me. But I feel like it's a common enough name since everyone in the world's name is Michael that it shouldn't be that hard. But maybe I'm wrong.
Thanks, Starbucks baristas, for always having to, do weird spelling. It's contagious.
That wraps it up, I think, for I Can't Know Music. I'll Know Music, episode 9. Mobile Orchestra. Music. Did I say something else?
I don't think so.
I said what I call the show.
I Can't Know Music, I'll Know Music.
Oh, you said go know music.
I told the listeners to go and know music.
Go.
Because that's what we're trying to get you guys to do.
Yeah. Not go not music.
No music. No music.
Yeah.
Don't know music. Yeah. No music.
Listen to albums and then talk about them with us. And I Can't Know Music, I'll Know Music at theculturepeople.com. My name is Michael Nip, and I'm signing off with my co-host,
Blake Wilson.